in the end, you were saying, do all fathers deserve to be celebrated for Father's Day? No, absolutely not. And I know you threw a jab at me and you said, should I have been celebrating every Father's Day? No, there's some years that I probably shouldn't have been because I wasn't the nicest father. I was very strict.
Welcome to Fatherhood Voices, breaking the toxic cycle. Dive in as real dads bear all, the mess-ups, make-ups, and every heartfelt moment in between. It's raw, it's real, and it might just change the way you see family.
Welcome to episode 64 of Fatherhood Voices. Now we're in for a treat today because my daughter decided to want to do something different. And she said, you know what? I'm not going to tell you what the topic is going to be about, but with Father's Day coming up, there's a subject that I want to talk about. And for all I know, a therapist could pop out a damn closet right now and start doing a session. Who knows what she has up her sleeve, but welcome, Alyssa, the sidekick chick. No, daughter.
Why do we keep
How are
saying?
you?
Okay, I am doing well, and I'm particularly excited about this episode.
So I've been curious all day. The last couple of days when you proposed this to me, you said, you know what? I have a topic, but I don't want to talk to you about it. I'm just going to go ahead and present it as we start the podcast. So we're here, episode 64 of Fatherhood Voices, and Father's Day is just in the next couple of days. And as podcast is going on, I'm seeing that the police are executing some evacuation orders in downtown LA. So a lot of chaos going on all around us. But okay, so I'm going to turn over the microphone to you, and you can talk about this juicy topic that you've been concocting over the last couple of days. So go for it.
Okay, so I actually wanted to turn the attention to Father's Day. So Father's Day is this Sunday, which brought forth this question of, a lot of fathers are going to be celebrating with their families, but there's a lot of fathers that aren't going to be present on Father's Day. And so I want to present a question to the listeners, and it's really to fathers, but mothers and children and just people around can also answer this as well. This is kind of for everybody. But my question is, do you just think that you deserve to be celebrated on Father's Day? And if so, what are the credentials that you have within the last year, months, years that gives you the right to be celebrated on Father's Day? Because there's going to be a lot of fathers that, are positive role models in their kids' lives, that are supportive of their partners, that are going to be celebrated. And I love that for them. But there's also a lot of fathers that are going to be celebrated as well, whether they deserve it or not.
So you want to respond to that?
Well, I was just posing the question. This is what I wanted to start the podcast around, because I feel like this is a hot topic. With Mother's Day, I know that you had put some content out there that was really explosive. It kind of set out this, this fire across the internet a little bit between your platforms, women responding and talking about Mother's Day. But now I want to talk about Father's Day because this is Fatherhood Voices, right? But yes, I do want to hear your response. And I'm also curious to hear what people say when they reach out. I'm also looking forward to seeing in the comments what people say.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned this because, yes, for Mother's Day, I did put out a post that did go viral that talked about and a series of questions, and actually not questions, but more thoughts. And it talked about, should you celebrate your mother if she was toxic to you, if she didn't show up for you, if she sexually abused you, if she allowed others to hurt you physically, mentally, psychologically. And it posed a question. It posed a relevant question because there's clients that I'm working with right now that are dealing with situations where they're having to care for their parents who didn't show up for them. Not only that, I just posted something over the weekend about this, where I have actually 3 clients right now, believe it or not, that are dealing with toxic mothers and fathers who did not show up for them. And now they're dealing with them because they have dementia, or they're in a home. They're having to handle their financial transactions. They're having to wipe their ass. Like, these are real questions, real situations, real issues that are happening. And I hate to be so vulgar and graphic, but this is really happening. When I get a client calling me and crying to me because they're conflicted morally and ethically because they're, especially one who follows faith to the T, but is conflicted because now she's having to care for her mother and her mother never showed up for her. So, yes, we can spin it and now talk about what about fathers? What about fathers that don't show up? What about fathers that only showed up when they were allocated to by the court? Okay, so you get to see your kids every other weekend. So they didn't fight for that extra time. They just showed up because it was almost like a chore. What about the fathers that only show up to piss off their significant other, the baby mama? Maybe they don't even want to be in the children's life, but they show up just to antagonize the children's mother. Yeah, these are real issues that are happening out there. So, great topic. Great way to mess up a lot of people's Father's Day, by the way. Instead of making it a
Hey,
very universal, just happy Father's Day, it looks like you really want to stir some shit up
well,
in today's episode.
I'm not trying to stir it up for the purpose of ruining anybody's Father's Day. I am bringing this topic to light because it's already out there to help
Are you
fathers
sure you're just not
reflect.
wanting to save some people some money from having to spend for Father's Day because we're in a tight economy? No.
Hey, that is their decision and their decision only. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it. That I'm not claiming any influence over there, but I'm just saying this is already something that is happening. There is already maybe there's confliction, there's anxieties, there's dread because this day is coming up, or maybe there's just people just don't care, whatever the reason is, or maybe some people are going through some stuff because here comes another Father's Day that either someone maybe has lost their father or didn't have a father that showed up for them, or maybe had an abusive father, or whatever the situation was. They're already going through the emotion. So I am just bringing up the topic to talk about it because I do think it is a very sensitive topic. And I think it's worth mentioning and bringing up because it is a very vulnerable and charged topic to talk about. But I'm not doing it to stir things up. I'm doing it to provide some reflection because I was thinking about this. I mean, do you honestly think that you deserve to be celebrated every single Father's Day? I'm curious.
Wow. Well, wait a minute. Let me ask you a question. So, is there a checklist that we should be following on whether or not you meet this criteria in order to be celebrated as a father? Just curious.
No, there's no
What's your
specific
checklist
checklist.
or
There's
criteria?
no, okay, let's
Well, you just
take a step
asked
back.
me, do I do I feel that I should have been celebrated every year for Father's Day?
Because I'm
So,
curious about
what
the
is your
answer.
criteria?
There is no specific criteria. There's no checklist. There's no such thing as a perfect father. There's no such thing as a perfect person or even a father figure. But there is the evidence, there is the actions of a man who is trying to grow, who is trying to be there for their kids. And maybe they're struggling with their own demons, maybe they're going through their own things. And the family might know, they might not know, but they're trying with their kids. So, it goes back to that they could be going through their own battles and maybe showing up for their kids is a little bit that they can give. And there, isn't an understanding of whatever it is they're going through. But I just think that if they're trying and they're trying for their kids and they're showing up and they're trying to be there for them, then that is a father. Being there for your kids, encouraging them, showing up when they need you, encouraging them to do different things, it supporting the mother of your children if the mother is around and she's present.
Well, I let me flip the script just for a second, and I know a father that's not going to get his child for Father's Day because the mother said it's not your weekend,
Mm.
and addictive. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. Yes, granted, it may not be his weekend, but shouldn't you make an exception if he's trying? No, not just for Father's Day, but he's making an effort to try to show up. This person is trying to get more time, but the mother keeps pushing back. No, you want more time? You got to go through the courts. You got to go get it revised. Oh, you want this? You got to get it revised. And it's unfortunate because, I've seen both sides, but I'm seeing that some mothers do use their children as pawns in this game. So I know we're highlighting Father's Day, but it's a weekly, if not monthly occurrence where a lot of women, and it goes both ways, but I'm just going to speak on this person in particular. Um, his children's mother is using the kids as a pawn. And it doesn't matter that he wants to spend more time with them. It doesn't matter that he wants to get them more. She's not allowing it. And everything is about, oh, you know, you want more time, you have to go back and revise it through the court, because she knows damn well that he doesn't have the financial resources to go and put that into motion, because he's already struggling financially as it is. So what are your thoughts on that? When the mother uses a pawn, the children as pawns.
Well, so this goes back to what I was talking about. I'm not bringing up to stir anything up. This person that you're referring to already is set in her mind, in her ways of how she's going to handle the situation for this weekend. So that's where it goes back to what I'm saying is this is already happening. There's already anxieties, there's already actions, there's already behaviors in place. People already know what they're doing. And maybe this podcast will give them some reflection. I hope that it does reach to those fathers that are maybe okay, or that are just not doing what they're supposed to be doing by showing up for their kids or their partners or the mother of their children. But they're not the only ones who can speak to it. And sometimes fathers can't speak to it truthfully because some of them don't see the error of their ways. And I don't know, it's hard. I can't condone keeping kids away from their father when they're actively trying. But then again, we don't know the background. I don't know the background between whatever the situation was. So she could have a good reason for trying to stick through the schedule of the courts. But also, it's on the parents to decide whether you go line by line down a court order. Because I know people who have not followed a court order line by line and have made adjustments where they felt necessary. But I also know people who have gone directly by a court order, and because it was such a toxic environment or relationship, or because they're using their kids as pawns. That's a hard one.
This episode is sponsored by Aloha Imports, the sprays that make your worst smelling secrets disappear. Listen, I love people, but I don't love their shoes or their oops, I ate a burrito bathroom breaks. And I really don't love pretending I don't smell it. That's why I keep Aloha Imports products in the house, in my car, honestly, probably in every bag I own. They've got Sweet Feet for foot funk, Shoe Fly for that one pesky fly, Smoke Off for smoke clouds that linger like your last situationship, and Crapper Zapper for the bathroom situation. You know the one. Aloha Imports doesn't cover it up with flowers and lies. They end it, silently, like a tropical ninja with a vendetta. So if you live with roommates, pets, or anyone who eats food and then, processes that food, you need this. Go to alohaimports.com, stock up, and enjoy living in a house that doesn't smell like a regret.
Man, this just triggers a memory I had of a lender I used to work with that was freaking nuts, and dealt with a lot of issues with the children's father, and used to go ape shit over the letter of the law of every single word and verbiage. And the guy was just trying to see his kids, and she just went batshit nuts all the time. A little deranged, to be honest with you. And it was sad to see that. Oh my gosh, just thinking about all the crazy stuff. Man. Yeah, things get very complex when the courts get involved. It's unfortunate that the courts have to get involved. Yeah, I see you're stressing there a little bit.
I'm like, I think I might know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
all
just
gonna
like
say to that.
You kind of blindsided me with this topic. Well, I just blindsided you and just threw it back at you. So you
just blindsided me with memories.
So, yes, toxic memories. So
Oh, yeah.
ones that I wish I could just like put ChatGPT and just erase them. So Erased it from my existence. Yes. So, but yeah, it's unfortunate that sometimes parents aren't able to come up with solutions without having to involve the courts. What I've seen over and over again is parents that do battle it out in court. In the end, there are no winners. They're all losers because not only does it cost each one a lot of money, but it really drags the kids through an emotional roller coaster, especially when the kids have to get interviewed by the court to start to see who they want to live with, not live with, and it just puts a lot of stress because you have the parents putting pressure on the kids, and I've seen kids have like meltdowns, like full meltdowns, because they wanted to stay out of it. They didn't want to participate in the verbal arguing that was going back and forth. But unfortunate, they were stuck in the middle. So it's sad. And I know the courts are put in place to be the referees, but sometimes it seems like it just makes a lot of things worse. So I don't know if we got off the topic of what you were talking about. In the end, you were saying, do all fathers deserve to be celebrated for Father's Day? No, absolutely not. And I know you threw a jab at me and said, and I'm gonna call it. You said, should I have been celebrating every Father's Day? No, there's some years that I probably shouldn't have been because I wasn't the nicest father. I was very strict, very authoritarian. And in my mind, I was creating these strong, confident, independent girls, not realizing that I broke you guys down, gave you guys PTSD, and I'll own my shit. I'll own the fact that I created a lot of turmoil in the house, and I also made the home unemotionally safe. But yeah, so when you pose that question, no, I don't think that fathers necessarily earn the right to be celebrated just because they're fathers. And it looks like you dropped off screen. You did drop off screen. So let's see if we get you back. So it looks like something happened on her side. So we'll wait for her to connect. But yeah, I'll pose that question out to you fathers out here. Actually, mothers and fathers. Well, first, you fathers. Do you feel that you should be celebrated even when you don't deserve to? And maybe it's because you've chosen not to contribute financially to your children, or maybe you've chosen not to show up for your children. That's questions that I would pose is, do you as a father think that you should be celebrated? I was just posing a question on whether or not fathers feel that they should be celebrated when they don't show up, when they don't show up for their children financially, when they don't show up for their children in person, when they're just not showing up. So it's a question I pose. And also I pose it to the women. Women, mothers of children, of these fathers that maybe are toxic or narcissists. Do you think that they should be celebrated even when they don't deserve to? So that's a question I'm posing. I'm taking your question and now putting it back out to the audience.
Yeah, I don't think all fathers should be celebrated. I don't think all fathers deserve to be celebrated. Just like I'm going to take what you said about you don't think that maybe you should have, but I'm going to say, no, there were some Father's Day where you didn't deserve to be celebrated because you didn't show up. You weren't a parent who was actively involved or didn't cause chaos or havoc or, that's just the real truth about it. Now,
And there's some birthdays that you deserve to be celebrated because you didn't deserve it. So we go to we're going to talk about
I feel like your
fatherhood,
ego's
Father's
just
Day,
been hurt.
and let's talk about birthdays.
You weren't there for some of my birthdays, so. And that would only apply to like maybe some birthdays where I was just being bratty in my 20s, maybe but before that, no. I am talking about like growing up, and it's a specific, range of years that I was just saying, I don't think that you deserve to be celebrated. And unfortunately, I think some people would agree with me.
It's funny because a friend reached out to me and said, hey, how was your weekend? I saw that you spent time with your daughters and so forth. And I said, yeah, at this conversation, I kid you not, it just happened in the last couple hours. And I said, yeah, you know what? I popped up wherever my kids were. So they went to the Upland Lemon Festival. So I went out there and just to go hang out with them. They went somewhere the night before, and I just showed up to go hang out with them. And they said, "Oh, why are you doing that? Don't you have other stuff?" I said, "You know what I do?" I said, "Matter of fact, when I went on Saturday, I was tired and I had a busy day the next day. But you know what? I decided if they were out there creating memories together, then I wanted to be a part of that. And I showed up and I turned on the camera and I was loud and obnoxious and silly with
Yeah,
my
you
inner child and embarrassed you guys a little and embarrassed your other sister a little bit, which she does not like to be on camera, by the way. Uh, but it was all in good fun. And my friend asked, he says, why do you do that? Like, why do you? I've noticed that you're spending a lot more time with your kids. I said, yeah, because I'm making, maybe in my mind, I'm making up for lost time, but also because I enjoy spending time with you guys. I enjoy just walking around and chit chatting and it's almost like what I'm coming to the realization, especially as you guys are getting older, it's almost like I'm transitioning out of fatherhood, and I'm always going to be the father, but I'm stepping to a role of like a best friend. Is kind of what I feel, and I don't know if that resonates or if I'm just reading into it, but yeah, I really do enjoy spending time with you guys and going out to events and concerts and restaurants and bars and just popping in, even if it's just for a short amount of time, to just spread my pixie dust of fatherhood. But
Mhm.
yeah, I enjoy getting out.
Okay. Well, I can honestly say I do enjoy your company now, most of the time, when you're not being obnoxiously annoying. Or when you don't go full on Mr. Influencer on us at every second. It's a give and take, really. But I also want to highlight, because when you're talking about it, yes, you are spending more time with your children, but I also like to highlight it's also the timing of, between me and you, we're working on healing, and we are doing it way more publicly than my
What the
other
fuck?
two sisters. And um, we are doing it more publicly than
Sorry, I lost my first name. Okay, the mushroom's back.
okay. Yeah, you keep knocking
Okay.
things over. Okay. Um, but I also think that has a big part to play with, because you've been showing up and being consistent and trying to put in the work that it's like your kids, like me, like I am ready to receive that more now. And I feel like my sisters are also in that space where they're starting to come to a place where they are starting to be open to receiving you being around. And even though they might feel annoyed at first, or, whatever, you're recording or being silly, but then there's that they come to oh, dad's here. I mean, granted, most of the time it's because, oh, dad's going to buy me food now that he's here. He's going to buy me something. But it's like that, oh, dad's here. Okay, cool. Hey, dad, let's go over here so that you can buy me a snack or something. So, there's that. Not that you're just a piggy bank.
I want to share something. I felt like that at one point, but no, now I realize you guys just, do enjoy my company. I want to say something. I don't know if I can say this or not because your sister pulled me aside on Saturday and shared something with me. I think I'm going to because she doesn't watch the podcast.
Oh boy. Okay.
So we went to one of the stores and she had brought one of her friends. And so I'm just being silly. And I think I was playing with the fufu dolls, the boo-boo.
The Labubu dolls.
What are they?
Labubu dolls.
The little,
Yes.
little evil devil dolls. So walking around and playing with them and stuff. And then I guess her friend turned to her and said, I wish I had a dad.
Wow.
And it hit me. It hit me. And I think he said, I wish I had a dad and I wish he was fun and silly. Something to that effect. And then, for your sister to pull me aside and say, like, I don't think I shared this with you either.
No.
And she says, oh, my friend said, said this. I'm like, oh, do you know her story? She's like, no, I don't. I'm like, okay. But it's almost in that moment, like we had a healing moment, right? With the Lafufu dolls looking at us.
Oh my God.
Uh, but yeah, it's almost like because your middle sister is not a big fan of me showing up at places. Well, I don't know. I think
Not at all.
deep down inside, what's that?
I said not at all.
I
Well,
think
no,
deep down
I
inside,
think she
she enjoys me there. But I think it was a healing moment for us, where I think maybe she came to a realization like, wow, maybe I should be grateful that, even though my dad is loud and sometimes obnoxious, like maybe I need to show up with a little bit more grace and not always be so mean to him. I'm just paraphrasing, but I don't know. We had a healing moment inside the store, literally with the Lafufu dolls staring at us, like no joke. But it was a special moment where I just got to um, connect with her, and yeah, it was beautiful, and it was unexpected because it was not planned, it was not orchestrated. But for her to pull me aside and just share that, it made me want to dive deeper into her friend's story. It made me want to maybe include her a little bit more and try to find out the dynamics, because one of the things I have come to the realization is whether or not you have a biological father or a stepfather in your life, if you don't have them, it doesn't mean you can't lean on a coach, an uncle, a grandfather, or a cousin, someone that can step in and I don't want to say take over that role, but can be a father figure. And that's what we have to remember also, is that, yes, not all of us are blessed with fathers. Some of us um, don't have fathers because they passed away before we were born, or some of us have fathers that choose not to be in our lives. And just remembering that if your father's not in your life, who can you lean on that you look up to that can step in as a role model of what a father could be? So I didn't share that with you. Maybe it wasn't meant to happen till right now. But yeah, that really happened on Saturday in the store with the Lufufu dolls
Okay, you
staring
keep
right
saying
at
it
us.
wrong, but it's funny.
I do, because I like to say Lufufu or Labubu.
Okay. Well, thank you
I don't
for
know, but I do know that if you smash their heads, and if it smashes, it's a fake. And if it doesn't, if you squeeze their face and it doesn't squeeze in, then it's real. Yeah, sorry. I'm
okay.
obsessed with the word Labubu. Okay. So yes,
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you've been on TikTok quite a bit. But thank you
sounds like it.
for
Sugar.
thank you for sharing that with me. What it sounds like, from my perspective, is it sounds like in that moment she did have an appreciation. And I think that it got to her so much that she wanted to share it with you, because she did have that realization of, oh my gosh, like this is a reminder. Like she may know, but yeah, not everybody has a dad. And she felt the need to share it with you because either it felt heavy that she needed to share it with you, or it was her way of showing her appreciation, or being like, it was almost like that guidance too. Because I mean, for her, even for me, hearing that for the first time, I might have been like, I don't know how to handle this situation. Like, and I know that she's incredibly empathetic to people, but it could have also been a guidance thing where she didn't know how to handle that situation. But that does remind me that I will give you credit that even though, yes, there were a lot of things that we went through, it with you and me specifically, especially when I got into adolescence, because we just started really butting heads. Um, but I can say that my friends always liked to be over at our house. Like our house was the house to hang out at, right? Because we had the pool, we had the home theater room, we had this big house that was all set up and everything. But beyond that, when you were there, everybody thought, oh, my dad, he's kind of crazy, but he's like fun, and he's like silly and obnoxious and stuff. And I had so many friends that either their fathers weren't present in their lives, or they didn't grow up with a father, or for whatever situation, they didn't have father figures in their lives. The same thing for mothers. They didn't have strong mother figures in their lives, or maybe their mother was there, but they were just not present in their lives in the way that they needed them to be. And I remember not just you, but you and mom being the mom and dad figure to my friends. So even though yes, there were issues and there were issues between me and you. That's something that I did take away to where I have conversations today with friends and I go, oh, my dad, whatever. I'll just say, oh, how's dad? How's mom? Because that was our house. It was, and people wanted to come over and sometimes I'd be like, I don't know why. Like, I'm like, it's kind of crazy here. It's loud. I got younger siblings. They're running around. Like, and for me personally, I kind of just wanted more calm peace. I just wanted somewhere to decompress sometimes, which is why I liked my other friend's house because there wasn't a lot of activity going on over there where there's just, kind of crazy siblings running around and, dad's there being silly, whatever. But then I also had the appreciation that of what I did have in the home and the fact that people wanted to be there. They wanted to be around. And to this day, they still refer to you as not your mom and dad, but mom and dad. How's mom? How's dad?
It's funny that yeah, I forgot about that, but you just talking about that reminded me. A lot of your friends called us mom and dad.
Mhm.
It's like we became their adoptive parents because we welcomed them in our home, and it was a place. Yes, it was a place of chaos, but it was a place of fun too,
It
and
was fun
laughter and
chaos.
silliness and
Yeah.
playfulness. What's that?
It was fun chaos.
Yes.
When other people were
Yes.
around, it was fun chaos.
Yeah. You
Um,
know,
oh, I wanted to share another story that actually it just triggered a memory. Do you remember when we took our first family cruise? Because that reminded me of the first time we went on a family cruise. I was a part of this teams club. So when you go on a cruise, a lot of the times, if you've never been on a cruise, they have different like type of clubs or like daycares where you can send your kids. And on this cruise, it was like specifically catered to families. So I would go be a part of this teams club. It was my first experience with being involved in any type of teams club because it was our first cruise. But I remember the short interactions that you had with some of the other kids that were in that club that I had was making friends with, and you were just you, but you were like silly and obnoxious and whatever. And I remember making friends with like a few girls and then a couple of guys, and they just like liked your energy, and I could just like not understand. And I'm just like, oh my god, there my dad goes again. Like he's so annoying. Like oh my god, why is he dancing right now? Oh my god, why is he yelling? But not like aggressively yelling, but just like silly yelling. And I'm like, oh my God, please get me out of here. How do I get off of this boat? And then they're asking about you later on. And then they're like saying, like, oh, your dad's so cool, whatever. And I'm like, I would hear this word cool being used. And I'm like, my dad's not cool. What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean my dad's cool? Like my dad's annoying and he's loud. I don't know what you mean. But then I also remember like those kids joining in with you in some silliness that was like happening in like the hallway of somewhere in between like walking between like one part of the boat to the other. And I'm pretty sure it's because like you were tracking me on the boat. I don't know. Well, I think maybe we might have been meeting up or you were picking me up or something because yeah, that was funny.
you bring something up that's very interesting. Good energy. I'm going to call it good father energy. And I don't know if that concept even exists, but you just you zoned in on something. And I think it's important for fathers to have good father energy, to show up, to allow the inner child to show up. Because what I'm realizing on this journey of healing is that my silliness, my playfulness is me healing my inner child. And I didn't really come to that realization until the last couple of years as I've started my journey of healing. And I'm realizing that, me showing up as that playful little boy is just me. I've been on this journey of healing all along and didn't even know it. And so being around other people, around other kids, and just in sharing, and not only this, I'm like this around adults too. I'm like this around my clients, and that's just me. That's who I am, and I think it's important for fathers to show up with good father energy because that's going to make an impact not only on their kids but also on their friends. And I would even go a step further and say, you can create such an impact for your children's friends that if they thought about taking you down a dark road, they may reconsider out of respect or admiration for your father or even your mother. What are your thoughts on that?
As far as the person or the friend's influence on the child, or
Yes.
I can see that happening. When you were talking, you actually did specifically spark. I did have one friend specifically that I do remember didn't come from the greatest home, and I don't know all of their background, but I do remember that they were just like obsessed with you in a way of like, wow, your dad's so cool. He's literally done like all this stuff, and then he was a cop, and then he did this, and then he had businesses, and then like you were such an inspiration to them that they just wanted to get to know you more. They just wanted to know how you did all of it. And I know for sure that you did make an impact on them as far as like a father figure, a strong father figure that was able to show them what is possible, that you can go do all these things. You don't have to just pick this thing in high school and follow it through college or follow it over there and make it your whole rest of your 50 years of working type of thing. It did give them the sense that they had the freedom to, I can try to do all these different things because look at your dad, he did it. And of course, me as a teenager, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, my dad, okay. Yeah, he's just my dad, and he does that, okay. But I was also younger and I didn't have the emotional maturity to understand the value that you had and how much you were making an impact until I started looking back at it. And I'm trying to remember what the question you said was. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. No, but it was
Okay.
just about how your friends can have so much respect for your parents that they would reconsider before they get you to maybe experiment with drugs or to drink or something because um, they don't
Well,
feel like morally or ethically.
I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, kids are kids. They're going to do what they're going to do. I think that's more on them, like what their choices are. I can see sometimes, yes, them maybe deterring, maybe out of fear because they don't want to get in trouble or, fear from, whatever, or there could be that respect as well. But I just don't know how much that would honestly play a role in it. I can't say that I honestly have had
I
experience
think
in that situation.
drugs does help a little bit
I
rather
think
than
it
not
does.
having a connection with.
I think it does help. I mean, I've had some friends where like whatever it was, like their personality would be tamed when they were at our house, or they'd be kind of scared, or like something that they wouldn't care if like their parents maybe had known about. It was more like, oh, but they might not want you guys to know about that because there was that like fear or there was that connection of like I feel like not that I'm going to be scolded or disciplined, but I feel almost shameful because I know that they would want me at this higher standard that my parents don't hold or my household, however it's shaped, doesn't have that discipline or that accountability. And so they would feel kind of hesitant and wouldn't want certain things, certain aspects or certain things for you guys to know because there was that accountability. Like they knew, um, that you couldn't do anything to, and not that you would shame them, but that they would not want to disappoint you.
Disappointment. Yeah. No, I think we definitely covered, the topic that you wanted to cover, and then we went into a series of just other things that we unraveled. But I'm excited about what's happening at the end of the month. Can I give a sneak peek of what's happening?
I mean, I think it's okay.
So, all three of my daughters are 21 now. So, and our youngest just turned 21. So, it looks like for the end of June, we're going to be taking a father-daughter trip out to Vegas. And looks like it's going to include some Vegas pool parties, some Vegas nightclubs, and even a concert. And I'm excited about that. And it's funny because each one of you has different personalities. One doesn't partake in there, one is all about that, and one just kind of steps in and steps out. So it's going to be interesting, but just a dynamic of being able to go and do that with you girls. I'm excited about it. I'm excited, one, to be included, to be able to go out there and just enjoy with you guys and to share in that experience. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the end of the month. So I just got the invitation today, so I was all in, like, absolutely, let's do this. And so yeah, I'm excited about that. And as we come up on this Father's Day, I just want to share two things. One is, I was talking to a friend today, and he was saying how he was talking to his wife and saying his daughter's 13 and that they really need to start spending more time with her because they've only got about 5 years left before she turns 18. And then she's not going to want anything to do with them. And I said, no, hold on a second. You don't have 5 years left. You have 2 years left. Because by the time she gets into high school and starts off on her path with sports and friends and boyfriends, she's not going to want anything to do with you guys anymore. So you have about 2 years left. So the first thing is for fathers that if you have younger children, make sure you're connecting, make sure you're making memories, because once they get into high school, man, the dynamics change. And once they get a boy in their life, forget it. You won't see them half the time because they'll be at the boyfriend's house with their family and so forth. So cherish the time that you have with them. And if you have adult kids, man, you've already instilled the discipline. You've already instilled whatever you needed to, whether you showed up or you didn't. When they're adults, they're adults. They have their own opinions. They have their own thoughts. And fathering isn't really going to happen anymore. So I'm more taking on the role as, yes, I'm still going to be a father to give guidance and advice if you guys choose. But I'm stepping into the role of, I want to be your best friend. I want to hang out. I want to create memories. I want to have fun. And maybe that's not the right way to look at it. But for me, that's what's working for our relationships with you and your sisters. And I'm excited about making it just one hell of a Vegas weekend for 2025 and going out there and just living it up and celebrating and just being in that moment, because that moment may never come again. When I almost drowned 2 years ago in a riptide, there was a potential that this would have never come. So it's me just being appreciative, and also just recognizing that tomorrow's not guaranteed. So I want to take every moment and I want to celebrate them with my children as much as possible. So I'm excited. I'm stoked. I'm whatever you want to say. I'm looking forward to the end of the month and having one hell of a weekend in Vegas with you girls. So
yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited because this is definitely going to be a one-of-a-kind trip, and basically it's only going to happen once, where we're all going to be together and we're going to go. And I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. But I also do think that we are triggers for each other sometimes. So maybe there just needs to be some, not precautions, but just like some precautions in place of like, hey, if somebody gets frustrated with the other or something. But I think overall, I think that it's just going to be fun and that we're going to have a good time. And I'm excited because I've been waiting for years for my sisters to be 21 and to share in this experience with them and to give them the experience of what I wanted. Because yes, I did enjoy my 21st birthday in Vegas, but it wasn't the way that I had pictured it. It wasn't everything that I have wanted. So with my middle sister, I made sure that hers was a step up from mine. And then I want to make sure that now my youngest sister, hers is going to be a step up from mine, because I want them to be able to have those memories and to enjoy it, whether they are into it or not, to just have the experience.
that's right. Our tradition is celebrating 21st birthdays in Vegas, isn't it?
Yes.
Yours, and then your sisters, and then your other sisters. I didn't realize that. That's become a family tradition.
So now all three of us would have gone to Vegas for our 21st.
Yeah, you had a pretty badass 21st birthday, okay? Party bus, multiple nightclubs. Yeah, yours was not shortchanged, okay?
Mine was fun. I just wanted a little bit more, but it's okay. But no, but it was. I had fun though. It was pretty badass. It was fun.
So, just as we bring this to closing for this episode, with Father's Day's coming up, if you are struggling with your children now because maybe you guys are in conflict or fighting, man, dads, I'm just gonna put it out there. Swallow your pride. Reach out to your kids and offer the olive branch. I know sometimes it's hard and ego and pride steps in, but you know, Father's Day, yes, it's just another day, but it's just a reminder of, yeah, you want to be celebrated for showing up for your kids, for the memories and so forth. And although this is just one day, you should be celebrated only if you deserve to be celebrated, not just one day a year, but every day. But there's a lot of fathers that are in conflict with their kids, and maybe it's time to just bury the hatchet. So that's my final thoughts. Have an amazing Father's Day, but I'll let you close it out.
Um, I do want to speak to that and just to warn fathers about with them reaching out, just be prepared for however your children's do respond. And if you're in conflict with them and they don't respond well, just remember to reflect on they are a product of their environment until they decide that they don't want to be. And so they might be in the same cycle that maybe you were, or continuing on a cycle that they grew up in. So give them some grace, because especially if you didn't show up or you created a not great environment for them, just understand that that's where they're coming from. That's their last memories of you. That's how the relationship's always been. So give it some time. And I also do pose that question, just reflect on and just allow yourself to be honest with yourself. And as you're reflecting, be honest about whether you think you did deserve to be celebrated past Father's Days. And do you think you deserve to be celebrated this Father's Day? But I do hope that everybody does have a great Father's Day, and that the fathers that do deserve to be celebrated do have an amazing time. And hey, like I said, I wasn't here to stir things up. It's already up. It's already out there. People are already feeling their emotions. Plans are in place, or plans are not in place. But it's just real. It's just what's happening. And that's all I
With
got.
that, have a happy Father's Day, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Father Voices. And if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and click the follow button and follow us, like the podcast, share it with other fathers, mothers, family, and friends. Have a great Father's Day.